Which essential oils are best for the throat chakra? Well, this is the video to watch. We are going to look at different essential oils that you can use, as well as have flying cats, and how you can use them in your life to help clear out that throat chakra. Of course, today I'm joined by Liz. How are you today, Liz?
I'm very well. I feel like I'm properly channeling chakra medicine. You and I have got so many videos to do today. I hope the chakra is performing very well, and I've chosen three good oils, I think, to help it.
Yeah, I think this is the chakra that a lot of people want to give a bit of attention to. The way we communicate is vital in all of our relationships, and a lot of people sometimes struggle to find their voice or to communicate, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that we can talk about communication in many different ways. We can talk about you and I talking to each other or talking to each other in relationships. But actually, we live in a world where we live in the age of communication. And so if you cannot communicate in this day and age, you are left behind.
Very much so. So it's not just verbal communication, but it is all styles of communication as well. So just to note out some basics very quickly, the throat chakra is obviously based in the throat. It is the center of communication and self-expression. And as me and Liz are displaying, it is represented by the color blue. It also has a strong connection to the respiratory system as well. So this is a really great energy center to help us to get that voice. And I find when we're looking at the respiratory system and the voice, a really great essential oil that I love using for the throat chakra, especially when it's underactive, when people are struggling to communicate, is good old eucalyptus. You know, we know eucalyptus, it's famous for being a bit of a respiratory support oil. And we notice that whenever we work with eucalyptus, it helps to get things flowing a lot better. Here in Australia, where it is a native oil, the Indigenous people have used it for centuries and centuries to not only kind of clear coughs and colds and they'd crush up the leaves and breathe it in, but they would also burn it to release the essential oils from the leaves. And they'd use that to help them physically, but also spiritually, cleansing the air and creating space where we feel safe to communicate. Now, sometimes it's not that we don't know what to say, it's just we don't feel comfortable. So I love working with eucalyptus, either mixing it with a carrier oil and popping a little bit on the throat chakra, but also just popping it in the diffuser and creating space where all the energy and the unwanted energy is cleansed away, but also you feel comfortable and other people feel comfortable to express themselves, which I think is really important.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's that strange phenomenon I have again with Australian oils that I cannot feel a spiritual connection with them at all. But from a physical point of view, it's absolutely bang on to choose the eucalyptus for the throat. Here she comes again, climbing up. Um, for clearing out phlegm and mucus and anything that is sticky there. So I think you're absolutely bang on. What I would like to draw attention to is I agree entirely about diffusing eucalyptus essential oil into the environment to kill bugs. However, we need to be really careful around children when we do this, because the 1,8 cineol in it actually slows down respiration. And so little ones up to about the age of 2, we really want to only ever use it in very small dilutions on their back. And so by all means use it for a small amount of time in the diffuser, but certainly don't leave it going for a long time in the baby's room, or just generally don't leave them exposed to it for too long, because 1,8 cineol can be really quite a nasty constituent for little ones and for cats, actually, incidentally, seeing my little girl in the background.
I will comment because people probably don't know what Liz is laughing at because they can only see the speaker on camera at the time, but Lemira has crashed. So the general consensus is, first of all, remember that many essential oils are not real and they're not pure. And when you're diffusing them, they can do a lot of harm. And there'll be a lot of clickbait and different things on the internet saying, I diffused, eucalyptus and my cat got sick and had to rush it to the vet and that type of thing as well. The general rule with a pure essential oil is that you can diffuse them with a cat or dog at home as long as they can leave the room. A cat or dog is going to leave far before they're going to start having serious health problems in that way. So just don't lock the dog in the laundry with some eucalyptus and you'll be absolutely fine. But this one
I I'm going
loves
to
it.
add more weight to that though, because that is true for dogs. But the reason why we say it about cats is because as humans, we have an enzyme in our liver that will actually break down phenols, but a cat doesn't have that particular enzyme. And so if you're diffusing an essential oil in the room and the molecules land onto a cat's fur and then they groom themselves, then essentially what they're doing is ingesting a complete oil, an undiluted oil. And like I say, they don't have the enzymes to actually break that down. So what I would say is the guidance is absolutely right. You leave the door open so they can leave the room. But for me, I wouldn't ever want to diffuse essential oils with high that are phenols around a cat. I think it's quite a high risk, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. People that are interested in learning more about animals and essential oils, there's a great vet. She's based in Texas. Her name is Janet Rourke, Roark, and she uses them in her practice for a whole range of different things. So if anyone wants some clarification on pets and animals and oils, then Janet Rourke's absolutely amazing as well. So eucalyptus, I love it for those that have an underactive throat chakra to really help to create that space where we can communicate. What's one of your favorite essential oils for the throat chakra, Liz?
So I would say my favorite oil for the throat chakra would be Mandarin. Um, not from a clinical point of view, doesn't really have any clinical uses. But for me, my mum first said it. She said it's like having tea at Raffles. It has this nature of just polite conversation, and conversation flows. And again, another one of her words, she says it has a convivial atmosphere. And I think if you are ever in a situation where you're nervous about what you're going to say to somebody, you don't quite know, perhaps you've had an argument with a friend and it's a bit tense. I think that Mandarin's just very good to kind of move you into that almost like nostalgic nature of, yeah, but we've got 20 years of history and all of those jokes, and you just somehow don't have that tightness in your throat when you don't know what to say. You know how you have that, like, you take on a whole different way of talking when you're tense about something, don't you? And Mandarin just goes, no, get on with it, it's funny, let's do it. And I think that has that beautiful energy that everybody can work with. And yes, the throat chakra works on, it vibrates on blue, but it also has links with the second etheric body, which is orange. And that is the body of will and ambition and communication. So I think the other thing is that this is a familiar enough scent that people kind of imagine already the scent of orange when they smell it. And excuse me, my cough. It's a sign we're talking about throat chakra. And that they immediately sort of pick up on the fact that you are really trying hard to communicate, because even though we can't necessarily see the colors of the aura, or not everybody can, we definitely recognize the vibrational changes when somebody's aura changes. So I think that's a really important kind of tool for the throat chakra.
Do you think possibly a blend of eucalyptus and mandarin would work really well as a bit of a pairing in that kind of allowing conversation to flow a little bit more, creating that comfort and that openness?
I think it'll smell horrible.
Oh, really? I think you just don't like eucalyptus.
No, I do. I use eucalyptus a lot, but I think that they're very. I don't know. Try it. I think from a therapeutic point of view, yes. I think that on paper that works really, really well. But I can't imagine that I would like those fragrances together.
We'll have to give it a shot, and would love to hear in the comments what you think of that pairing of a mandarin or a citrus with eucalyptus. So we've been talking a lot about how to allow conversation to flow a little bit more. And we've talked in previous episodes about how being an energy center, it can be overactive and we need to calm it down. It can be underactive, we need to amplify it, or we might want to just keep it nice and balanced. So we've been talking about this underactive throat chakra, but what happens when your throat chakra is overactive? Now, these types of people, you can always pick them. They dominate conversation. They're loud. They don't let other people speak too often. Not really renowned for good listening skills. They could just be Leos, or it could be that they've got an overactive throat chakra. Now, I will say sometimes people with an underactive throat chakra will talk excessively, but they talk a lot of rubbish. And the reason being is that they don't feel comfortable with silence, and they don't feel comfortable telling you the truth, maybe telling you that your bum does look big in those pants. So they'll just kind of keep blah, 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 blah. But someone who really likes to kind of take command of conversation, and remember, we always think about communication being talk, 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 talk. It's also about our ability to listen. So when we need to maybe shut up a little bit, when we maybe need to listen more, one of my favorite quotes is that we should only speak if it's more beautiful than silence. And I know a few people in my life that could probably learn from that beautiful quote as well. And if this is the case, or if this is something you want to work on, then Roman Chamomile would be one of my favorites. When it comes to Roman Chamomile, I find it just has this energy of gentleness. And I know when we did our episode on this essential oil, Liz talked about how delicately they kind of dance in the wind and kind of have that very joyous nature. If I was to kind of match Roman Chamomile to an animal, I'd say it's like a deer. Still powerful, still got strength, still a mighty animal, but very delicate and very gentle upon the earth. I would also pair it, if you like your crystals, with blue lace agate because of that just soothing nature. And I think it's a really great one for supporting those that feel that there's a reason why they need to fill the space. And I think Roman Chamomile, like it lulls us to sleep, like it lulls us to stillness, it just lulls us to feel comfortable, to pause and to see what the space is filled with when you're not filling the space with your communication.
I love that. And as you know, I am a big fan of the chamomiles, full stop. And I've used them as suggestions for other chakras. But I do think that the chamomiles, you can nip them in here and there, anywhere really, to kind of say, no, calm that energy down, as long as you know how to direct the energy to that space. And of course, a big part of that with the throat chakra is done by intention of saying this is for the throat chakra. But yeah, you're quite right. They dance in the breeze. And I always say they sing and they say, K Sarah, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. And I do think that, yeah, just my mom always says, let it be. You know, if she doesn't like going into battle, she did as a younger person, but as she's got older, she'll say, let it be. Don't have that argument. Give them grace. This too shall pass. And I think all of those kind of things are definitely chamomile things. And I think it's an interesting sort of phenomenon, really, isn't it? It's almost like a quandary that, so do we not speak our truth? Because essentially what we're doing is saying is quashing our expression, isn't it? You know, the whole thing is you should speak your truth, and then you're saying, but actually maybe you shouldn't speak your truth all of the time. And so, yeah, just oils that can help to get a balance of starting to feel, well, where's that line? Because not everybody has that line, do they? We all know people who are like, she said what to you? Does she have no line? Essential oils are very good at being able to help you to establish where is that line.
And when we think about the advent of social media, everyone now can have an opinion on everything. You know, if there was a protest 20 years ago and we'd read about it in the newspaper, we'd talk to a friend or a family member about it, but now everyone has to make a comment on a protest or a politician's decision or a celebrity's misdealings, and we all have to spray that and communicate that, and then we're all receiving that as well. So I think everyone could have a healthy dose of Roman Chamomile occasionally, just to think, is it necessary for me to share this? We've all been probably in some of those chat groups occasionally where there's some people that just won't shut up and have to agree and put their two bobs worth in. And I think Roman Chamomile can really help to quell that when people have that urgency to have to reply to everything, comment to everything, share what they're having for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and tomorrow type of thing.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember the lady's name, Eva somebody or other, but she's doing the rounds on all the big podcasts like Stephen Bartlett and Cody Sanchez. She's an ex-Secret Service agent, beautiful woman, which wears very tightly scraped back blonde hair. And she did a brilliant interview on Stephen Bartlett, and she was talking about being reactive, and she'd said if you are easily triggered, easily emotionally triggered, then you are easily manipulated. And I thought that's absolutely profound. And she said part of the skill of becoming good at my job was learning to be able to say, am I going to react to that? Do I care really? And I was like, oh, it's going to take me a long time to be that good at that. But I thought that is a skill that I think that a lot of people could really, it would really help my life if I was less emotionally triggered by things. And I think Chamomile's very good at that. So that decision to say, am I going to have the last word? Because that's me, definitely. Am I going to have that last word, or am I just not? And that's very much chamomile stuff.
Sorry to interrupt for just a moment. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Sixth Sense. Now, you're probably getting rather excited about essential oils, and you might be tempted to go out and just grab some. But did you know the essential oil world is not regulated, and a lot of what it says on the label is not governed by anyone? A fun fact, which is not so fun, is that 75% of all oils that are sold as pure, natural, or organic lavender are not even from a plant. So how do you know what's real? Well, I went looking for that question a long time ago, and I found DoTerra to be a really reliable source of high quality essential oils. They don't just test their oils themselves, but at the end of the process, they have an independent third party verify and double check their oils to make sure that you are getting what nature intended purely from the plant. They also source where nature intended the plants to grow as well. If you want to grab hold of some essential oils from doTERRA, then I offer a discount code, and this is available no matter where you are in the world. Now, I don't want everyone to get essential oils. I want everyone to use essential oils. So when you become one of my customers, you get access to me and my VIP education platforms, ongoing discounts, ongoing freebies, live classes in all time zones all around the world, and so much more. So if you're interested in getting some essential oils that you know are really from nature, and this is important not only physically, but metaphysically as well, please reach out in the links below.
Now, another kind of gentle, soothing essential oil that you kind of threw into the mix, Clary Sage. You like that for the throat chakra too, I believe.
Yeah, I do. And it was a toss-up, really. I found with the throat chakra, there were lots of oils that were sort of interchangeable with other chakras, which I think is a really interesting thing to look at anyway. But I think that when I was doing the work with Clary Sage, obviously I wrote a book about Clary Sage. One of the things that became very clear was it had two very strong planetary rulerships. The first was the moon, which everybody talks about, how the moon rules emotions, but also it's ruled by Mercury. And I'm pretty sure that Culpeper says that, if I remember rightly. I think that's where I got it from. And quite often I'll look at the rulerships and I'll spend a long time trying to go to disprove the rulership because excuse me, since they've been written, lots more planets and asteroids have been discovered, so outdated. But I couldn't do that with Clary Sage. It stayed very mercurial to me. So Mercury is such an interesting archetype. It rules communication, of course, but it also rules the teacher-student relationship. And I think that when at the beginning, I alluded to the fact that we live in an age of communication. Communication's so fast. But what's really important is that you are also able to get your idea across effectively. And that's not easy to do, especially if, for example, you have a massive big idea in your head and you want to explain it to somebody. I think the mercurial aspect of how we get an idea to a place that we can communicate it and then to be able to actually put it into action. So we bring it from a different dimension into the 3D reality is really very difficult. And so anything that you can do that helps that flow of energy from the sort of fifth dimension, if you like, and then we come into a fourth dimension where we're thinking about it and then actually putting it into 3D reality is very helpful. And I find that Clary Sage is really good for that. So if you have a big idea that you want to communicate, so for example, you want to go and talk to the bank manager, for example, or actually you want somebody to get invested in your family, to get invested in what you're doing, because let's be honest, family are always the worst critics of why are you wasting your time doing that? It's an important skill to be able to say, well, these are the reasons why, and I can give concrete reasons and I can show you evidence. And Clary Sage allows you to move between those worlds very, very effectively, of being able to say, this is what's in my head, this is in my ether, actually. You know, I'm dreaming it maybe, I'm seeing it at night, and then I'm starting to be able to rationalize it in the day. Can I talk it? Can I work out financially what the actions are to be able to do that? And Clary Sage is excellent for that.
It's interesting that you say that. Clary Sage is one of my favorite essential oils to diffuse around the full moon, especially during the day, because we know that the energy can be a bit frenetic when we're trying to do logical or yang things throughout the day. And it has that real ability to kind of calm, like it calms the emotions and the hormones and everything like that. It really has this ability to just kind of center and calm. And then I guess what you're saying is that it also allows that communication to flow with more precision. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, if we look at Mercury as an archetype and we think about him as the god of communication, the messenger god, that's what he was. He, apart from Hecate, she also has this ability, but he's the only one that can go between all worlds. So he can speak to the gods. He can be up in the heavens, the place where the dreams are, but he can also go right down into the subterranean realms of the dark side of the shadow. And that also means that we can take our idea and really look at it and turn it round and go, so what is driving this idea here? Is it purely money? Is it purely status? Can we find a way that it can do good? And really examine what's pushing you in the shadows. And I think a big part of that is why you can get people to engage with you. If you can explain where this drive is coming from, people are more likely to buy into it than if you're just talking about a pie in the sky idea. And Mercury allows you to go into that dark part of you and say, so where did I get this idea from? Why does this matter to me? What difference can it make? Is it purely egotistical? And no judgment from me. You know, if you're just saying, right, I think it'll make a lot of money, that's fine, as long as you understand that motivation, because it's really important to know what is the most important thing that I want to achieve from this project. And all of those things come under Mercury, and also therefore Clary Sage for the throat chakra.
I wonder, you know, when Mercury goes into retrograde for 3-week periods, 3 or 4 times a year, that is when he takes his support away from the planet. And that's where communication breakdowns, and then we get lessons during that time as well of how we can become a better communicator. And I wonder if Clary Sage might be a really wise choice around that time to just kind of settle the mind and let's say what we need to say.
I think yes, but I have the same sort of feelings about Mercury retrograde medicine as I do, for example, trying to bring a temperature down when you've got a cold. Unless there's a really important reason to do so, I would always say, but so what is the good medicine in Mercury retrograde? Well, actually, it's looking back to make sure that we've done things properly, reviewing things. So, do we want to mess with that energy, really? I would rather go, I'm going to go and find out how to get into that flow. But yes, I agree. If there's like a Mercury retrograde, we can kind of tip the balance a little bit using essential oils.
You talked about Mercury having that ability to pass between heaven, our world, and the underworld. And my third oil actually has a real strong connection to the underworld, and that's cypress. I love cypress for the throat chakra, and it has a strong connection to death. There's a bit of an origin story about this. You may have heard me tell it before, but it's one of my favorites, so I'm going to tell it again. It was basically, there is a beautiful young prince by the name of Saprasios, and he has this stag deer, which is his companion. Wherever he goes each and every day, he'll go out into the forest and stag deer is there by his side. Now, as Saprasios gets older, he actually meets Apollo, and they fall for each other, and they spend a lot of time out in the woods playing around and doing, entertaining the days and whiling them away. Now, one day, Apollo and Saprasios are throwing javelins, seeing who could throw it the furthest, because that's what boys did before we had the Xbox and PlayStation. Anyway, Saprasios went to throw his javelin, looked behind him to make sure that Apollo was watching, and with all his might, threw it as hard as he could and as far as he could. Not looking where he was aiming, it went straight through the heart of his beloved stag deer. The deer fell to the ground, dead on the spot. Saprasios could not believe what he had done, and he begged the god Apollo, please, let me go into the underworld, let me be with my stag deer. But because Apollo was so smitten and in love with Saprasios, he didn't want to lose him either. And so Saprasios was turned into the cypress tree. Now, the cypress tree has a strong connection to death. Especially in Eastern Europe, you'll find around cemeteries, the cypress tree normally lines laneways and the boundaries and so on. Even here in Western Australia, one of our main cemeteries, Karrakatta, has got cypress trees everywhere. Now, remember, we've often talked about what an essential oil does physically, it does emotionally and spiritually. And fun fact, actually, we were actually being trained by a traditional Chinese medicine doctor last night, and he was explaining the difference between a herb and an essential oil, and he says he finds the herbs work better on the body, but the essential oils work better on the emotions and the spirit in the same context. But I digress. Cypress is really good in the body for getting things flowing properly, all the fluids flowing really well. But what I've also found is the essential oil is absolutely amazing for helping to get tears to flow, to help us to grieve. Now, as we've been talking about the different chakras, we've talked about guilt and sacral chakra and fear and the base chakra, and grief is the negative energy that sits upon the lungs and can hinder the throat chakra from working well. So working with cypress is both allowing us to grieve, and I've used it with customers in the past who haven't had the ability to grieve the loss of an unborn child, or someone else have been too busy busying themselves with the funerals to actually let themselves go through that grief period. Diffusing cypress has just kind of brought that through as well. So it's a really nice one if there is grief there. There is a lot of grief that people don't get to express. And it may not just be because someone's died. It can often be, we had a lot of grief around COVID because people were sad because they lost opportunities. They lost the ability to do different things, and that created a sense of sadness as well. So working with cypress is a really, really beautiful one for the throat chakra to just get things flowing. It helps with emotional liberation, and it allows that that expression of grief that may be sitting heavy on the lungs as well. Now, I'm going to quickly, before you comment as well, Liz, squeeze in a bonus oil, because there's obviously many oils in the cypress family. And I do find that one of them, hinoki, which is a wood cypress from Japan, we covered that in episode 100 of our Fellowship in Essential Oil series. Hinoki is renowned for its ability to grow very straight and direct. And it's a beautiful one again for the throat chakra. They're helping you to be clear and concise with your words. It's a real leadership oil when it comes to the throat chakra. There's another kind of guidance that a true leader or the smartest person is the one who speaks last. They stop, they listen, and they take in everyone else's opinions and how they feel, and everyone feel heard. And then they summarize, and they can cultivate and tune their message to fall upon the ears of which the people they already have the understanding of what those people would like to hear or where those people sit in the room. So Hinoki can be really great in that way as well. So to allow the throat chakra to flourish more, your general cypress essential oils, which are from the needles, or that Hinoki wood can be really powerful as well.
I love that. It wouldn't. Neither of those would be oils that I would reach for the throat chakra. But I think that all of the things that you have said are right and valid. The thing I always think is fascinating about cypress is that it used to grow around the sanctuaries of Asclepius. So when the people used to go to the Greek temples to do dream incubation, and so that the god Asclepius, the god of medicine, could speak to them, they were breathing this cypress all of the time. And it said that snakes used to lick their ears and whisper secrets into their ears from the mouth of the gods. And then they would, when they would wake up, they would give their information for their dreams to the priestesses of Hygeia. And so, interestingly, that is very mercurial in the same way as I said about Clary Sage, how the messages from the gods come through onto this plane. I can definitely see that same sort of energetic playing out again. Yeah. And yes, in terms of making things flow, that's absolutely bang on.
From one oil that kind of makes things flow to an oil that I find is actually quite rigid and it's more about boundaries, you've chosen clove as your third essential oil for the throat chakra.
Yeah, I think that from a physical point of view, it's the most famous essential oil, if you like, for things going on with your mouth. And throat chakra rules your mouth. So this, I would say it's clove bud essential oil rather than clove leaf, although I'm a big clove leaf essential oil fan, but clove bud. And so I think, first of all, it cleans your mouth up. And so we've not only got the sort of antibacterial side of that, but also those people who just can't say anything nice. And I think that from like a nostalgic point of view, it's the scent of Christmas. You know, we have oranges and cloves, and we all kind of go into that warm state of going, oh, it's only for a few hours. We're just going to get through this for a few hours. Niceties, pleasantries. But I do think that it really cleans your mouth up. If somebody is, I can be like this quite often. You go through times and you are in a horrible mood. And Aries rising, if I'm in a horrible mood, you can guarantee I'm going to say horrible things. I'm ashamed to say, but it is what people know about me. And so I like clove from that point of view. It reminds you, it's very sharp. It keeps your attention on your mouth. Even when you've used it on the throat chakra, you'll feel it in your mouth and you're reminded, energy, keep that nice. And I think it's really a profound healer. Yeah.
It is interesting as well because it's also been used throughout history for abundance magic and also love magic as well. And really, each time we speak, we are planting a seed into the garden of our future. Because if we're speaking foul words, that's going to manifest and unravel in the energy around us. And if we're talking about optimistic approaches, positivity, our goals, our dreams, what we're aiming for, then we're also kind of projecting that into the future as well. So I think clove could be a really great one for actually helping you to use the throat chakra as a tool for bringing in the future that you desire.
I think from a manifestation point of view, absolutely beautiful. And sort of mandarin and clove would be a lovely blend. You spoke earlier about don't speak unless the sound of your words sound better than silence. My dad always used to say, and he was an excellent salesman. He was a second-hand car salesman, but he was a brilliant salesman. And he always used to say, Elizabeth, remember, you have 2 of these and 1 of these, because I could never shut my mouth. But remembering that every time you speak has a meaning to someone else, and that whole thing of sticks and stones may break my bones. Words do hurt. Words are very powerful things. Words can be very kind things, very healing things. And the more warmth you have in your words, spices give warmth, the more warmth you have in your words for people, the more people will want to be around you, because they will feel like they're seen and they're heard and they're cared for. So this spices are very good for that flow of warmth through the body. And I talked about how the throat chakra connects with the second body, the body of will. Also, though, 5th etheric body, that's the actual main connection. 5th etheric body is the seat of love. And so how one communicates is absolutely translated through this field of love all of the time. It's very hard to transmit love and say bad things. The 2 need to be in alignment.
I know that you're a big bather with essential oils, and anytime you can get into a bath with essential oils, that's your favorite way to use them. But I am a big diffuser, and I love, there is always at least 1, if not 2 or 3 diffusers going in my home in different rooms at different points. And then we have motion-censored ones in things like our bathroom and our laundry as well. I would say when it comes to the throat chakra and how we use our essential oils, of course, anointing oils on an energy point is going to help. But I would say that diffusion is a good one for the throat chakra. Would you not agree?
Yes, I would. And I certainly wouldn't want to put clove in a bath. The other thing that I really like is actually going back to the original medicine of what you said at the beginning, how they would use eucalyptus. I like to make a steam and gulp that steam, because then you get right down into your lungs. Diffusion's working on the outside really and on the brain, but if you want to get it into your lungs, then I would gulp and do inhalation of vapors. Yeah.
Can you explain the gulping a little bit more?
Yeah, so oh my goodness, I've tied it up and I've got no oils. This is champaca, so it's really not relevant. But so there's 2 different ways. So first of all, if you've got your essential oil, it's really good for using with tea tree if you've got a sore throat, for example. I'll make myself cough because I'm spluttering, but and you're really pulling the vapors down into your lungs. But also, excuse me, if you get a bowl of hot water and you put 2 or 3 drops into your hot water, and you just open your mouth over the vapors and go and allow the vapors to go in. If you want to unblock your nose, you would put a towel over the top of your head, and that's really helpful to trap the vapors. But I think if you do that when you're gulping the vapors, you might find that's just too hot and it scalds. So just kind of just being over the steam that's coming up and just go with an open mouth, pulling them into your lungs.
A doctor that we had training us recently in essential oils and different ways to use them just reminded us we can use them, aromatically and topically in a whole range of different ways. But he said, there's something blissful about just smelling an essential oil. And he said, whatever you're about to do with an essential oil, before you do it, just smell it as well. And when we are smelling it, that's obviously going through the system that would be associated with the throat chakra. So it's a simple pleasure that we need to stop and smell the roses. We need to stop and smell the essential oils before we start dispersing them and using them in different ways around the home as well. So I think that can be really great for the throat chakra too. So remember, oh, go on.
I was just going to say, in Judaism, there's an actual blessing that every time you inhale something beautiful, you smell something beautiful, there's a particular prayer that they say to say, thank you for the beauty of that scent. And I think that's lovely. I think if you employed it as an aromatherapist, you get no work done. You'd be blessing all day. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful practice.
Oh, very much so. I love that. So remember that our essential oil recommendations are just that. They're there to start you thinking about what the best oils for your throat chakra are. We have other videos on both our channels which take a deeper dive into these oils and others. Plus, there's my book, Chakra Healing with Nature's Gifts. The link is available in that down below. Now, while you're lingering down below this little video, make sure you've subscribed, make sure that you've liked this video, because it tells the robots that we're a good video and it allows other people to share this knowledge as well. If there is someone who thinks maybe they need a bit of Roman Chamomile and need to calm down their throat chakra a little bit, or maybe they need a bit of Clary Sage and to get their thoughts in order, feel free to share it with them as well. We'll be back next week when we dive into the next chakra in the top 7, the third eye chakra, a favorite indeed. What oils are good for that? Well, you have to join us to find out. Until then, take care and blessed be.
Bye-bye.
I'm Elizabeth Ashley, UK Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder of the Aromatic Mystery School, where essential oils meet the deeper, more mystical side of healing. Here you'll explore the spiritual, emotional and energetic dimensions of plants and learn how to weave them into your own rituals and well-being practices. If you're ready to work in a way that nourishes both your soul and your senses, join us at the Aromatic Mystery School. The link's right below.